Okay, so number 7 here wants us to write a system of equations based on the information given and then solve it. So if you found $6.60 on the ground at school, it was all nickels, dimes, and quarters, so no pennies, and all change. You have twice as many quarters as dimes and 42 coins in all. How many of each type of coin do you have? Well, we know we have nickels, we know we have dimes, and we have quarters. So if I add them all up, however many nickels I have, however many dimes, and however many quarters, I know it equals 42 coins. So there's my first equation. So I used this piece of information. Then I have this piece of information that it equals $6.60. Well, I know a nickel is worth 5 cents, so 0.05 times however many nickels. A dime is 0.10 or 0.1 times however many dimes, and quarters are 0.25 times however many quarters, and that's going to equal that $6.60, which I'm just eliminating 0 on the end. So I did that piece of information. And then it tells me I have twice as many quarters as dimes. So if I take the number of dimes and I times it by 2, that's how many quarters I'll have, because there's twice as many quarters. So I know quarters equals 2 times D. Okay? So this is my system. So it gives me equation 1, 2, and 3. Now this system I'm going to solve a little differently. In some of your systems you'll see this where you don't actually need to do elimination right off of the bat. In this one I can actually substitute right off the bat. I know that Q equals this. So if I take equation 3 and I substitute in for Q in equation 1, then I'm down to the variables of N and D. So that gives me equation 4. And if I do it for, like, take equation 3 and I plug it into equation 2, it does the same thing. I'm down to just N and D, and I have equation 5. So I'm just going to do this one by substitution. I'm not using elimination right off the bat because one of my 3 equations only has 2 variables. So I'm going to rewrite equation 1, substituting in, instead of Q, I'm going to put 2D. So I have an N plus D plus 2D equals 42. Okay? That was using equation 1 and 3. That's still important because I still have to use 2 at some point. So I'm just going to combine like terms, and I get N plus 3D equals 42. Okay? That became my equation number 4. Now I used 1 and 3, I have to use equation 2, but I'm still going to do the same thing with equation 3. So I have 0.05N plus 0.1D plus 0.25 times 2D equals 6.6. So that was equation 2 and 3. So I used all 3 equations. Now I'm going to simplify, collecting like terms and simplify, and then I'll have equation 5. So 0.25 times 2D is actually 0.5D. So I'm going to combine these like terms and rewrite the problem. So I have 0.05N plus 0.6D equals 6.6. Okay? That just gave me equation equation number 5. Okay? So I'm going to use 4 and 5 to solve for a variable. Okay? So I have N plus 3D equals 42, and I have 0.05N plus 0.6D equals 6.6. And you choose the variable that looks the easiest. This is equation 4, this is equation 5. N is going to be the easiest to get rid of because this is a positive 0.05. I can make this a negative. So I'm going to multiply this one by a negative 0.05. Okay? So that equation becomes a negative 0.05N minus 0.15D equals a negative 2.1. So that's still equation 4, and I just rewrite equation 5. And I add them together. Okay? So if I add those together, I get 0.45D equals 4.5. Divide by 0.45, and I get D is going to equal 10. Now I take that 10 and I substitute it back into either equation 4 or 5. I think 4 is going to be easier, so I'm going to use equation 4. And let's see. So equation 4 is, where to go? Oh, there it is. Okay. N plus 3D, so 3 times 10 equals 42. 3D is 30, subtract 30, and I get N is 12. Okay, so now I take D and N, and I take it all the way up to the top and substitute it in to 1, 2, or 3. Well, you could substitute in for 1 and find Q quite easily, but with just using D, I could just find Q really fast. So I'm going to actually use equation 3, and I get that Q equals 2 times 10, so Q is going to equal 20. Okay, now I have Q, D, and N, so my answer here would be, you don't have to write in point form because it just wanted to know how many coins. So you'd say, oh, well, it's 12 nickels, it's 10 dimes, and it's 20 quarters. Okay, and then you can check that answer by substituting it into one of the original equations, obviously not 3 because we already used 3, so I'm going to use 1. And I have 12 plus 10 plus 20 should equal 42. Well, that does. So 42 equals 42, and it worked. So there's my system.